in my own hometown. Stranger.
Howdy folks, Little John, and time for a quick 5 on Friday. It's bright and early. Just dragged myself out of bed. Off on holidays today. I didn't think I'd get a chance for a 5 on Friday today, but for the missus isn't in a huge rush this morning to get going, so okay, I'll take advantage of that and I'll get out here in the brewery first thing and get a quick chat on. So yeah, I'm out here. It's a surprisingly chilly morning here in the old cherry capital for this time of the year. A few weeks into spring and it's still hitting -3 in the mornings. But yeah, 3 cheers for central heating. Keeping things right. So anyway, as a result, we got no alcoholic support this morning. It's going straight with coffee. No whiskey to get us by. Anyway, what I want to talk about, have a quick chat. Another one's been suggested by one of the subscribers, and that is hops and hop timings and how to use them. That's a good suggestion because it's something I really haven't done a lot of videos on. Is actual hops themselves. Obviously, you'd use hops are in every beer, and it's the essential flavouring in beer. So using them all the time in very different ways. It's never really been discussed a hell of a lot, on the best way, on how you do actually use them or what effects they have in the different ways. So, obviously you could do a lot of instructional videos on hops. I only want to do a quick run through on what they do at different times. So, we all know what hops are, and in a brewing format, the most common way of buying your hops is pelletized, in little pellets, dried, compacted and compressed, and probably 95% of the hops that brewers are using worldwide are in that form. It is becoming a little bit more common to use whole hop cones, or referred to as leaf, can be sold as plugs. And particularly as the craft beer phenomenon is cruising on and people are playing around with hop flavours and profiles, and it is becoming more common. Certainly much more common in the commercial brewers than it is with home brewers, simply because it's quite difficult still for home brewer to get hold of whole leaf. You can do it, and if you can, so do it. So for the most part, we're referring to pellet hops when we're talking hops. Use-wise, there's no real difference. So, traditionally, hops have been used in your beer always, and they still do. They do 3 things: bitterness, aroma, and taste. Now, all hops that you use are different. They all have different tastes and flavours and aromas, and can all be used in different ways. So you need to do a little bit of research yourself when you're choosing your hop varieties that you want to use on the recommended ways of using them. Some hops are recommended as a bittering hop. Some are recommended as a hop, as a flavour or a aroma hop. Some are dual purpose. It's funny they say dual purpose, even though bittering, aroma and flavour are 3 things. But anyway, so in their traditional use, hops were used in the boil of the wort, when doing all grain beer. And effectively what you get is if you're boiling the hops, they are summarised in the wort, which brings out various acids. And there's the main acid we're looking at with hops, really, from the home brew level particularly, is alpha acids, or what you'll see referred to as AA. And that's the acid that will be turned into, bittering of flavour or aroma. When you add those acids to wort and you boil it, it goes through a process of isomerization where that acid is changed in the structure. So initially, when you stick your hops into some nice boiling water, the first thing it does is it starts to remove, obviously brings aroma out. And that'll last for about 10, pushing towards 15 minutes, and where you'll pull out this aroma and it will develop. Once you get at that 10-minute mark and you start pushing even up to as far as 20-25 minutes of boil, you start to get the flavour really starts to come out of the hop, and the aroma stops. You stop getting, and you get that flavour. And once you get beyond that sort of 20-25 minutes, and again this varies from hop to hop and depending on your acids, you start to get into the range where you're really getting bitterness out of the hop, and that will generally run up to about the 60-minute mark. So an hour-long boil, and you see that referred to in most people. When you're doing a boil, it's always a countdown. It's always so many minutes, and that's how many minutes are left in the boil. And you generally see 60 minutes as your bittering addition, because really hops, once they get to about that 60-minute boil, they really don't extract much more in the way of bitterness. IBUs is the reference point, International Bitterness Units. And that's just simply as a measure of the bitterness that can be perceived by the human taste. And so again, the longer you boil, the more bitterness you get, the higher IBUs. And that's why beers are rated as percentage of ABV of alcohol, and then there'll be so many IBUs. And it can range, generally, your beer's generally going to range from somewhere around 16, 18 IBUs for lagers. Can be a bit lighter for certain styles, but generally 16, 18 is about the bottom mark. Lagers and wheat beers, stuff. And then you creep through where you get to the point where 50 to 60 IBU is really, for the most part, stinging into the higher end of your big hoppy beers. Obviously there's exceptions where you will push to 80s and 100s, but you don't see a lot of that. Double IPAs, Imperials and stuff like that, but for the most part you don't see it a lot. So as I said, so you boil for that 60 minutes. It doesn't get much more going for longer, so you don't really see much in the way of longer than 60 minutes. And 60 minutes is generally a fairly accepted time for boiling of your wort, as is a good time. So the two sort of work together. But so that's if you're all grain brewing. If you're a kit brewer, if you're brewing kit beers and you're looking to just add some hop flavour just to improve the beers, which is a really good thing to do, then you can start looking at slightly different ways. You can just simply steep your hops. They don't need to be in boiling hot water. They just need to be in hot water, generally above, I think 72 degrees is the mark where isomerization starts and or finishes, depends which way you want to go. Above it, it's working, below it stops. So for a kit brew, basically throwing a handful of pellets into a mug with some boiled water and letting that sit for 10 minutes will pull out some aroma and a little bit of flavour, and you can add that into your kit beer. Now you'll see where you can do more videos like where I've used a similar process, or even just a small boil with a little bit of water. And listen, again, depending on how you do that will depend on exactly what sort of result you got. So there needs to be a lot of playing around, and it's very individual, the result you get from the hops and exactly how you use them and what it does in your finished beer. And how you use them and how it will provide a different result depending on the beer you're in. So what works in one beer is not going to necessarily work in the next. And again, this is the beauty of brewing, and that's now that slide that we're on, is that playing around, that you're not going to get the same result every time just by doing something simple. But it's an easy way to add stuff. Like I said, you keep beer, give a little bit of a short boil in the pot, or just a steep, get it in. You want to use fresh hops if you can get them. You want your hops as fresh as they can. When you've got them, keep them sealed. If you can use a vacuum seal, I've done a video on using the vacuum seal for hops. Vacuum seal them, get the air out of them, and keep them in the freezer. That will keep them as close to fresh in their better state as long as you can. Avoid buying hops from your hop shop that are sitting on the shelf in the heat. Well, not so much to avoid, just don't buy them. It's not worth it, they're going to be crap. Don't buy tea bags. Again, no. Buy a weighed out pack. It's better value, you'll get more. And once you start whacking them into your beer, you're going to want more and more. So a tea bag's not going to get you anywhere, and it doesn't really do much. Okay, so that's your traditional use within the boil, and it's started becoming more commonplace, in recent years to do, to dry hop, which just meant sticking hops into your fermenter at some stage during the fermentation before bottling, and again to add a different flavour. Anytime you're adding hops beyond the boil, you're getting a very different effect and different flavour from the hop. Dry hopping, particularly in the fermenter, is not a real big thing. I'm not a real big fan of it. Plenty of brewers are, and I'm not saying it's something you shouldn't do. It just produces a flavour that, for me, for the most part, I don't really enjoy. It's not to say I haven't found beers that that are dry hop that I do enjoy. That they're out there. But I've discussed this before. Dry hopping, for me, gives you the taste of hops. A grassy, vegetative, leafy sort of a flavour, as opposed to where you're boiling and you get the flavour of the acids that are in the hop. And again, I said, it's a little hard to explain exactly where that comes from unless you've experienced, but if you play around with it, you'll know what I mean. And so again, those flavours will vary depending on how you're using the hops, whether it's in the fermenter for 5 days, 8 days, 7 days, halfway through the ferment, at the end of ferment. Again, these are things that you really need to experiment with yourself to find out what your preferred way is. And it will vary from hop to hop, so it's a good idea to get on some forums or in the Facebook pages, ask questions, check out what other people are doing, look at people's recipes, get an idea, then play around with it, take notes, to work out where you prefer to do it, because it varies incredibly on how you do it, the amounts and stuff. People, you see people asking for suggestions, how much should I dry hop this pale ale, and someone will go 30 grams, next person will go 100, next person will go 52 kilos. So it's personal preference. So you've got to play with it and find out. It's the same with these newer methods now, which is post-boil hopping, whirlpool hopping. It's become quite popular, and it produces a completely different flavour as well. And so what that is, that's adding your hops. So you've done your boil, you start and there's always been what they consider a flame out addition, which is quite good for aroma, and it's just dropping your hops in when you finish the boil, and basically starting to cool straight away. So your hops have I summarise for a very short period of time and just really just pull the aroma out. And it's quite useful. I use it a bit myself. What we're doing now is whirlpool hops, or hops during the cool. So and it's used in various different ways. But basically, the main way is that you finish the boil, you start cooling the wort, and you get the wort down to about 80, 82 degrees, and you stop cooling, then you get your hops in, and you let them sit for 10, 20, 30 minutes. It's referred to as a hop stand. Whirlpool hop, because what they do, they'll get 80 degrees and they'll do a whirlpool. If you're not an all-grain brewer, you won't understand what that whirlpool means. But it's just a method that's used for helping to remove crud from the boil after the boil's finished. But either way, you're adding hops at a lower temperature, but still high enough to be isomerized, but not to the same extent of actually doing in the boil in boiling water. And again, it gives you a different effect. You're getting a lot of aroma. You're getting flavour, and this is where things become interesting, because they say you don't get any IBUs, you don't get any bitterness from these late additions. Now, there is a concept referred to as perceived bitterness, is where you perceive bitterness where there isn't actually anything there. And for the most part, any addition of hops adds a perceived bitterness. It's the underlying flavour and that acid that gets on your tongue and in your mouth from the hops. So even though there may only be only 30 IBUs measured in a beer, there could be you could perceive it as 40, depending on how that hop tastes. So adding these hops in later can dramatically change the way your beer tastes. So again, it's experimental and stuff you need to work with on your own brews. New England IPA is a perfect example of a heavily whirlpool and dry hop beer, because that's what you do. There's massive hops after the boil, during the cooling, at the whirlpool. There's massive hop all right through fermentation, and you get a very different perspective. So you've got to experiment and play around with these things yourself to really see, what works for you and what you like and what you don't like. Be warned, to get any great noticeable effect from later additions, you need a lot of hops, which is part of the reason why I don't really like it, because I can get plenty of hop flavour from 20 grams of hops in the boil, and a lot more than I'm going to get out of 70 or 80 later on. Hops are the most expensive part of your beer, so throwing huge amounts of hops into your beer obviously increases the cost. So you've got to balance up where you go. Am I getting enough benefit from adding $10, $20 worth of hops into the brew to make it worthwhile? And some people are going to say yes, some people are going to say no. Again, it's style dependent and it's brew dependent. Okay, so from bitterness at the start to practically no bitterness at the end, and everywhere in between, there's a place for hops. There's a place for every brewer to use them. So as I said, look up recipes, listen to other brewers, ask advice if you need to about what to do or how to use them. And remember that everybody's different. What one person likes, another person isn't going to. Okay? Everyone's going to tell you to use Galaxy and Citra, for flavour. Use use Magnum or Warrior for bittering. Use whatever it is that you enjoy to use. Use the standards as a starting point. Branch out and play around with it. You just might surprise yourself exactly what you can do. Get a little bit adventurous. Occasionally you're going to make a beer that's not, not always going to be the best. It's pretty rare you make a bad beer. You just make a beer that's not as good as some of the others. Pretty unusual to make a beer that's not drinkable just because you picked and not a great hop combination. You've used too much or used in the wrong place. So get in there, have a go at it. Okay. So that's me. I've raved on for well over 5 minutes today. Bit of a long one. You'll get that. It's okay. Not a simple topic to just lock in. So that's me for the day. Got to go and get myself ready to get this video bloody up on. Flipped onto the channel before I got to do anything else for the day. So as always, if you got any questions or any comments, stick them down the bottom. Given I'm going away, I won't be away for a week. I'm not going to respond for a week, so don't think I'm a rude bastard if you don't get an answer from me. But put them down there. If you've not subscribed, hit the subscribe button down there. Like I said, next week and I'm back, we're back into more beers, getting more going on. So yeah. That's me, Little John for the day, about to go on holidays. So, till I see you again, we talking beer, brewing beer, drinking beer, good brewing.